So as you're probably aware, Brandon Johnsone signed an executive order yesterday announcing ICE-free zones throughout the city. He's been met with a lot of pushback, and he had to come out again this morning, and do another press conference. And as usual, he cannot answer a question. He gets painted into a corner right away.
As you probably are well aware, FBI Director Kash Patel has tweeted out that he's on his way to Chicago now to save Chicago. Could we get your thoughts on that? And if you could also just brief us on the latest that you know about where the National Guard is and where they may be warming up.
Well, Kash has come in here to really enjoy the city of Chicago and spend money, and I strongly encourage him to spend as much as he possibly can. The city of Chicago has been voted yet again the best big city in America, and he gets to get a front row seat.
Is he trying out for Def Comedy Jam? Is he a comedian now? He's so obtuse. This reporter is asking him a serious question about the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, coming to Chicago, and he opens up with humor, poor humor at that. And like I said, I watched this entire press conference, so you don't have to. I'm just going to hit the highlights.
Law enforcement can't talk to each other. Are you asking Superintendent Snelling to make sure that federal agents and CPD can at least get on the same radio so that CPD can know if there's an intention by the feds to, detonate those non-lethal munitions?
Since I've been in office, we've removed over 24,000 illegal weapons off the streets of Chicago, right? And, the president not only removed and took away $800 million in cuts to violence prevention, but he cut the ATF budget by 30%. He's defunding law enforcement, the President of the United States of America. He's a defunder.
Did he just seriously imply that the President of the United States is trying to defund law enforcement? This the man who ran on defund the police when he was originally running for the position of mayor? That's why I used the word obtuse. He's obtuse and dotish.
Well, I don't believe it's the issue of the protocol of CPD, because we're clear about what we're supposed to do. The issue is the federal government isn't. The federal government is shooting Americans. In the streets of America right now, the federal government is shooting and killing people, unleashing tear gas on families who are walking to the grocery store, trying to get their kids to school. The federal government is out of control.
Completely misrepresenting the facts by trying to make a political point. DOJ, some of the federal agents, shot a woman because the woman tried to ram them with her car. You had some other individuals, citizens, who tried to pin in a federal vehicle, an ICE vehicle, so they dispersed tear gas. You just had, I did a video yesterday where Superintendent Snelling told citizens, you cannot do that to federal agents. They are still law enforcement. He is just the worst.
If Congress is not going to hold the President of the United States of America accountable, then I will.
It is so ridiculous that I just have to laugh. He just talked about the Constitution gives the authority to the three branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, to be a check and a balance on one another. And then he says, if the Congress doesn't do their job, I will. I missed that part in the Constitution where the mayor of a city can hold the president accountable. He's such an idiot.
Mayor Johnsone, over the last week, I've literally interacted with over 300,000 plus real Chicagoans who say that it is hate speech for you to evoke the Civil War, to evoke bringing back the Confederacy, to say that law enforcement is a sickness, when you yourself have over 150 sworn police officers on your detail. What do you say to these people, and will you ask your 150 sworn police officer CPD detail to stand down if you and your wife Stacy are ever attacked, shot at, or rammed with a protester vehicle?
Okay.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that your numbers of interactions have gone down to only 300,000.
Actually, millions, but
Well,
personally, I've
which
interacted
one?
with over 300,000.
So it went down this week.
No, it's going up.
You just
Higher than
said,
yours, by the way.
so
Okay,
300,000.
thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Ed.
So,
Thank
so
you.
So you hear that reporter asking him a question, and this reporter always takes Brandon Johnson to task. But again, you see, he can't even answer the question. He has to get into this back and forth about, oh, I'm sorry to see your numbers are going down. But that reporter asked him a very, very germane question. You, Brandon Johnson, said law enforcement is a sickness. Why don't you disband your 150 police detail and show the people of the city of Chicago that Chicago is safe, like you say that it is? But again, my larger point is, he can't answer a question. He gets into this petulant back and forth with this reporter, and in so doing, he's lowering his own status as the executive of the city of Chicago. Why not just redirect, answer the question, whatever it is you're going to do, but don't get down on that level. Again, it makes you look even more petulant than you already look so far in this news conference. But let's keep listening to this exchange.
I think it's important to be able to make sure that to the people that you're talking to, though you're talking to less and less people every week, is that they know the truth. Here's what I've said, that the addiction on jails and incarcerations and the addiction of militarism, it is an evil. And Dr. King made that very clear.
That's something else that I hate that he always does. He'll make a statement and then he'll say, oh, Dr. King said that. Because when you say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said something, of course, you can't attack it. It has to be sacrosanct. You have to leave it alone. He's such an idiot. You don't have to. Dr. Martin Luther King was alive in the 50s and in the 60s, and the tactics that he used back then are not germane in the 21st century, least of all in 2025 in the third largest city that you're doing such a horrible job of managing. That's why Washington, D.C. is sending the National Guard. And your silly executive orders about ICE-free zones and trying to create local laws that are going to dictate what federal law enforcement does just shows how abjectly ignorant you really are.
Well, I have a responsibility as the executive of this city to present a budget. I'm going to do that. It's going to be balanced. And what I've said, and I'm committed to doing, I'm going to keep to my word, is that I'm going to present a budget that challenges the ultra-rich to pay their fair share in taxes. I'm going to challenge that. Our corporations, particularly those who have received tax cuts from the president, have to put more skin in the game. Look, the president's cuts are real. He's cutting our public education system. He's cutting off our public transportation investments. He's literally withholding over almost $2 billion for the south side of Chicago. We fought 50 years to get that done. We got it done in my time as mayor. And now he's withholding those dollars. Every single area where descendants of slaves have fought for accommodations by the government, that's what he's attacking.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Brandon Johnson speech unless he somehow invoked slavery. We're having a conversation about the national government. We're having a conversation about the federal government sending in National Guard troops because Chicago is being overrun by crime. And his attack against Donald Trump, against Washington, D.C., is that somehow he's got to bring up slavery. The only reason that you keep bringing that up is because you believe you don't have an actual foundational issue upon which you can stand that won't stand up to scrutiny. So when he invokes slavery, that's the same way when he invokes Dr. Martin Luther King. When you say slavery, then nobody is supposed to say anything because slavery, okay, that's hands off on that subject. Slavery has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in Chicago right now, except perhaps your preoccupation, Brandon Johnson, with the issue and the subject of slavery, that you bring it up as often as you do, again, just shows how unprepared you are for this position and for this moment.
Donald Trump declared war on Chicago. That's what he did. What the Trump administration is doing is intentionally fomenting chaos. They're doing that on purpose because this president doesn't respect the rule of law and he certainly doesn't respect working people. Now look, Black Hawk helicopters landing on top of apartment buildings, that's a choice and a decision that the President of the United States of America made. Those are his actions. The federal government sending in ICE, which, by the way, has a budget that only compares to the United States military and China's military.
The blacks are getting caught up in that.
That's a decision. Well, you're absolutely right. They're being caught up in Trump's war on Chicago. That's what this is about. It's about Donald Trump and his lack of regard for working people, and particularly black and brown people. And so what am I doing? I'm using every single tool that's available to me to make sure that we protect people, all of Chicago. Donald Trump also said that the money that we're spending for black student success, he doesn't want that. He also said, let's not deliver on the resources for the Red Line extension, which has been a fight for black Southsiders for decades. And we got it done. And he's holding that up. That's what the President of the United States of America is doing, because he clearly has animus towards working people, and particularly black and brown folks.
How many times can Brandon Johnson say black or black and brown in one speech that has absolutely nothing to do with race? That Black Hawk helicopter would not have had to actually land in that area of that apartment complex in South Shore if you were telling CPD to go in and arrest people who were here illegally, who were already readily identifiable. You refused to do that. Then in the state of Illinois, Governor Pritzker refused to do it because Illinois is supposed to be a welcoming state. Chicago is supposed to be a welcoming city. So then the federal government does it because it's their mandate. But to try and turn something that is an immigration issue, this isn't about color, this is about an immigration issue. People who are here illegally are supposed to be apprehended, processed, and deported by ICE. So when they go in and do their job, Brandon Johnson wants to try and just drop the black, brown, black card. He wants to drop that because he's hoping that when black and brown people hear that, they'll think to themselves, oh, this mayor's on my side, so I'm going to continue to support him. The federal government is not going after people because of their color. They're going after people because of their immigration status. And if you would just get that through your stupid mohawk and just understand that that's what this is about and stop trying to make this political and about race, you would have so much more respect. But right now, with your approval, let me just play this last part and then I'll give my summary. Let's look at this last one.
I've spoken with a mother of an undocumented child that is keeping her child home from school. Mm-hmm. And in a fear of federal agents being in her neighborhood, she's been watching her neighbors, have issues. What is CPS, CTU, and the city doing to kind of make sure that if this is long-term, or longer if we go weeks with federal agents in neighborhoods, how are we ensuring that students are getting to school?
Well, that fear is real. And that's what the president wants. He wants us to be afraid. He does. And you want to know my opinion of why he is so interested in creating fear? Here's what I personally believe. That the President of the United States of America and the handful of the ultra-rich are terrified of black and brown and Asian people having more political power than we've ever had in the history of America. They want those families to be afraid because they see the tides are turning, that you have more conscientious people who understand our collective responsibility one to another. It's why they're banning books. Like, this fear didn't just start with immigration. It's white men who are afraid of people being educated.
So I guess when he got to the end of the speech, something went off in his head that he said, hey, I've said black, I've said brown, I've said black, and I've said brown. Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot the Asians. I got to make sure I throw them in there too, because it's blacks and browns and Asians on one side and then all the white people on the other side. Because we know there's no such thing as white people who vote Democratic, and Brandon Johnson didn't get any white votes when he ran for mayor. Again, just the same old repeating talking points over and over and over again. The only thing he knows how to do is play the race card and play the class card, because nothing else he's doing has worked. He's a complete and utter failure as mayor. The only thing that he can do to try and hold on to power is to try to drop these buzzwords, to try and cobble together just enough people, he hopes, to maintain his position and get reelected. But I'm predicting right now that Brandon Johnson is going to lose in a landslide. He is obtuse. He is the wrong person for this moment. But I digress. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've got it completely wrong. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. So let's get this conversation started. Let's get down in the comments section. Let me know after you've heard. I mean, you know this channel. Those of you who are following me, those of you who are new, I'm going to leave a link right here so you can go through it. You can see all of the videos going back over the last year that I've done about Chicago and Brandon Johnson in particular. So let me know. Am I not getting it? Am I missing something? Is he right? Is he right that this is just about white people they're angry because they lost the Civil War, and they're angry because other non-white people are getting educated? But then he says at the same time they're not getting educated because the schools are all messed up because Donald Trump is taking the money. He's just all over the place. He's a complete mess. Like I said, do me a favor, subscribe to the show, drop a comment, drop a like, and like I said, let's get this conversation going. Obviously, we're going to keep talking about this because the National Guard is coming into Chicago today. So this is going to be an ongoing conversation. So buckle in. I'm going to keep you updated on everything, like I said, going on in Chicago, especially these types of press conferences, so you don't have to watch them. I'll catch you in the next one.